Well, welcome back. So we're going to be continuing this week with Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have a special guest, Sam Morgan, and he is a life coach and can help you achieve your life goals. So definitely check him out. He has a big following on LinkedIn and also has a YouTube channel that I'll make sure to link to down in the description. And I'll make sure to link the interview that Sam did with me on his YouTube channel. So don't forget to check that out. I'll put that in the description as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Sam.
Well, I've been on this journey for, I don't know, in terms of becoming a coach, it's pretty crazy. It's actually a whole mental health journey in of itself, getting to the place where I am now. I've been in the process of being in the continuous improvement industry. So helping people improve processes in their work. So that's what I've really been focused on and moving along in that industry. And then over the last maybe year or two, my mindset has really changed to focus more on the people side of that. In fact, at a conference I went to recently, they were talking about this idea of improving processes. And they said that, hey, improving processes is easy, but transforming people is hard. And I thought, man, that is such a revelation to me. And that's the kind of work that I want to be a part of, and helping people transform and get to where they want to get to. And not that that's impossible, for them to understand that that isn't impossible, but it is possible if they understand where they want to get to, where they are now, and to do it one step at a time. So really, it's been like a long journey to finally get to that point of understanding that that's where I want to go. So that's where I'm at now, and excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you here. So thank you for being here. Also, you talk about life transformation. And a lot of times in your posts and your content that you create, you share a lot about your own personal story. So would you mind sharing with the audience your personal story with mental health?
It's really interesting, actually, in talking to my dad and then knowing some things on my mom's side. There's history of some mental health issues. And even now with my parents and seeing some of the things that they're going through, I can see that there are some mental health challenges there. So shouldn't have been a surprise to me. Of course, you don't know that when you're in it, right? And you're thinking about it. But even from when I was engaged the first time to the same gal twice, there was so much going on and so much unhealthy thinking and dysfunction going on. And so going through that process, the second time being engaged to this gal, and then that didn't work, thankfully, because I'm married now for 20 years, 3 beautiful kids. So it was actually good, but it was so hard. It was so hard going through that process because, of course, the rejection, the hurt, and all that. But of course, that surfaced all the dysfunction. So at that time, I had me and the gal that I was engaged to had been going through some counseling. And so when she broke it off the second time, he was like, well, hey, do you want to do your own personal work? And I was like, well, obviously I've got some stuff to work on. So yeah, so he took me through the book Feeling Good. And that was definitely helpful for me in surfacing some of kind of those unhealthy thoughts that I was having going on, but there was still more work to do. And so eventually I met my now wife, Sydney. And when we met, we went through some counseling to surface kind of some, hey, what are the things we need to understand to be prepared and whatnot. And so we went through that process, and it was helpful for both of us. And then after we got married, sometimes things don't surface right away, right? Like, hey, depending on kind of your living situation and your personality, like things surface. And so over time, some more things surfaced, and some stuff came up for me where, hey, here's some specific issues that came up that you really need to focus on and work on. And of course, no one likes being told that they've got stuff to work out, right? Like, you don't like being like, oh yeah, I've got this stuff. Everybody wants to think, hey, things are going good. Like I've done well here. At least I had that real performance mentality where it was like, I was always striving to be and perform and look good. And that really covered over a lot of the things that was going on kind of on the deeper level. And so so I've been married 20 years now, almost 20 years in September, and have surfaced some really deep issues. And so our counselor is like, hey, Sam, you need to go and work on your stuff. And so I went to a group counselor and did some group work there, and that was really helpful. But the interesting thing about that was because eventually I came to help facilitate that group work after a few years. And that was definitely helpful for me personally. And I can see the benefits of being able to go through that because we would do weekly check-ins and talking about how we were doing in different areas, whether it was like personally in our mental health and our spiritual journey and our like how are you doing like in terms of like getting out in community with people, how are you doing in the specific area that you're struggling with. So that was really good in teaching me those skills. But what I didn't really surface until like maybe 5 or 6 years was I really was scared to go in and do that personal one-on-one work, to really dig deep and say, hey, what's going on inside of you that is causing all these issues? Because see, you can go in that group work and you can like say all the right answers and look good. That whole performance thing really came up where I was like, oh yeah, let me perform for you and do all these things and tell you the right answers and get the kudos. But was I really doing that hard work of reflecting on what was going on inside of me? And it came to a point where I was like, I need to go in and start doing this work. I am scared as hell to go in and do it because I know that when I go in there face to face, my counselor, he's going to ask me some hard questions and ask me to reflect. I mean, he was very thoughtful and caring and kind. And also I knew he wasn't going to just let me like put on these answers and accept them. He was going to actually dig into them.
Right.
And so for the last, it's been 4 years, at least, I think, I've been going to do that one-on-one work at different paces, right? Typically every couple weeks, but gradually over time, like exploring and looking deeper into some of those things in the questions, my fear of rejection, my lack of belief that I have value and am able surface. And so we continue to work on those and changing the thoughts, going over what's happened through the week and processing those things and really focusing in on you are valuable, you do have worth, you are capable, and you have stories that you're telling yourself, and we need to change those things. And so
Yes.
I'm very thankful for that. It's been scary, but it's brought me to the point where I am now, where I can, when I'm talking to people, I can draw on those experiences and go, like, I can understand the process of having to look at all those things and like when they come up and really seeing that and like being present with them, understanding them and asking them questions, help them go deeper and understand what's going on. So that's a long story. It's hard to summarize, like 20 years of work that I've done, and it's ongoing, right? It's that mental health work. I think the overarching theme of that is always continually doing that work, having a regular practice of self-reflection so that you can continue to grow and improve and even sustain all that gains you've gotten about the truth about yourself that you've made over time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that story. And you know what? You summarized it very well. A lot of people struggle in the journey that we call life. And like I like to say, we're all on the same spectrum of humanity and we go through similar struggles. And sometimes, like you mentioned, our thought processes can get the best of us and we can become our worst enemy, so to speak, when we let those thoughts ruminate and then turn negative, and then all we do is keep spiraling into that pattern of negative thinking. And so I love how you grew in your relationship with yourself, but also with your partner, with your now wife, and then in the therapy relationship, how you did the group and then you turned it into a one-on-one. That's actually how a lot of people do get introduced to counseling and therapy, is typically by group because they feel a little more comfortable in that setting, and then they go into the deeper work of the one-on-one. Now, did you ever experience any barriers to mental health care? Were there any stigmas or ideas that you had perceived about mental health care before deciding to dig in and take the plunge?
Yeah, I'd say the stigma I had around mental health was my own. It was,
Mhm.
I need to perform. And if I'm going to ask for help, there's something wrong with me. Right. So
Mhm.
if I go in here to get mental health care, that means there's something like I'm bad. And I was already feeling that. There's already that doubt in me, that, oh, you're a bad. And there's a lot of pieces in there around beliefs and stories and my experiences and messages that were given to me in different like faith and religious spaces that were like that I had ingrained in me. And
Yeah.
so going to ask for help, I think even though in like my faith tradition was like, hey, you should reach out, like you should ask for help. Like on the other hand, it was like, you need to look good, you need to perform, you need to present a certain way, otherwise you are falling short. Versus
Um,
like, how about we should be able to come as we are with our challenges and our shortcomings and encourage each other and help each other and work through these and see what's going on. So I'd say the stigma was my own. In
mm,
terms of barriers, you know, as a white male who is um, been blessed, in terms of finances, like I had the ability to be able to pay for mental health care. Like I wasn't like, oh man, I really need to do this work. And like, well, I'm just going to have to like suffer and like, or wait
mhm.
because I don't have the income to be able to afford that. So
Mm,
I am very thankful and very aware of that.
mm.
And so that definitely is something that I'm thinking about as I'm starting to think about my practice of helping folks in coaching. Like, what's a way I can give back and help people that could really benefit from coaching? And I don't have that all worked out, but it's definitely something because I've seen others that I respect do
Yeah.
that. That's something that I want to do in a way that's meaningful, is remove some of those barriers to help people be able to get to where they want to get to, because it's just the right and kind and human thing to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what you said was very profound as far as the stigma was your own. I never really thought of someone having their own stigma, but I guess that's like a self stigma. And when you think about it, yeah, if we keep telling ourselves that we are supposed to be this persona, this person, and we have this image of who we believe we're supposed to be, and then we feel like we're not meeting those expectations, then we start thinking those negative thoughts of I'm bad, like you mentioned, and
Yep.
thinking, oh gosh, if something's wrong with me and my mental health, there must be something wrong with me. And it was hard to face that. And I'm sure there are a lot of people watching this today, right now, that have a similar stigma, a self stigma. And, and speaking to those people, I just want you to know that you're not alone. And if you need to reach out and you don't know where to go, I'm going to put in the description the number to the suicide hotline and the crisis text line, where there are counselors standing by 24/7 that you can access and reach if you are in need of mental health care and you just don't know where to start. That will be a good start for you. And so I really thank you for bringing that to my awareness and to the awareness of others, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who feel the same way. And with your story, you do share a lot of your personal journey. Even now, as you said, mental health care is a life journey. And in your content that you put out, mostly on LinkedIn, that's where your biggest following is, and you seem to put a lot of thought into your post. Does your mental health ever interfere with that, or do you struggle with the content creation at any point when you're making this content for your audience?
Yeah. The struggle with putting out content, I think, is definitely real for
Mm,
me, because that whole idea of, I'm not good enough, I'm going to be rejected, I want people's approval, otherwise I'm not valued or valid. Like I have to be to get a certain number of views or likes or thumbs ups or comments
mm,
to validate myself and my value and worth, that is definitely a struggle for me. So when I'm like creating my content and like trying to tell a story, that definitely plays a part. Okay, how is this going to be engaged with? Are people going to find this compelling? Are people going to like or comment or engage with this? And so that there's definitely a tension for me, because I feel good about the value I can provide people in terms of coaching and helping them get to where they want to get to, a little bit at a time, step
Mhm.
by step. And also there's that pull of like, well, if you don't put out something there that's like super compelling, then they aren't going to check it out, and then you're not going to get these people, and then what?
Mm.
And so I have to walk backwards from that. And I'm not perfect at it by any means, but it's like a real way of testing how all this work that I've done is actually working. And it's a day by day, moment by moment processing of that. And sometimes you just have to let it go and put it out there and go, this is the story. Like, this is true. And I think I've grown in that as a storyteller right now. I came back from a conference a couple months ago, and I had an aha moment in terms of where I'm going and what I'm supposed to be doing. And I was like, I want to tell that story because it's like so meaningful to me. Like, it really, really changed how I think about where I'm going. And it's really spoke to me at a heart level of like, you do have value, you do have something to offer in this space. And so I just was like, man, I want to share this. And people have really responded to that. They've really have gotten a lot of comments. People like, thank you for sharing that. Like, I've resonated with where you're at, and thank you for being authentic. And that's what I feel. I think for me, I feel so good when I put out an authentic and true version of myself.
Mhm.
There's I don't know if it's a saying or a picture that my counselor talked a lot about, and that's that picture of a mirror. When you look at your mirror and and like, is that, are you reflecting back yourself, like an integrated self, like your whole self when you look at it? And so I think I would say the same for my content. If I were to look at, is that like when I look at my content and it looks back at me, is that a true reflection of me? Is that like incongruent? Is there, is it authentic and true? And if I can say yes to that, like, and you can, like, when you're writing the story and you're telling the story like you do on your videos so well, like, are you feeling like this is a true my true authentic self, or am I like trying to put on a show so I can get the views? It's like,
Mhm.
which one? And so you can, like, we know when we're putting content out there, like if it's our true and authentic self, like, I don't think you have to like go, you can tell as you're typing it up or editing the video, like, this is a true reflection of who I am. And I think that that's what I want to do more and more of, and I want to do less and less of that,
Yeah.
and I don't want that. I want to be, this is Sam Morgan, and this is who I am. And if that resonates with you, cool. If it doesn't, that's okay too.
Right. And that is definitely a theme with those we've been interviewing for the Mental Health Awareness Month, is definitely the authenticity and how that really connects with people. And
Yeah.
one thing that is also very common amongst content creators who struggle with mental health or who are dealing with mental health challenges on a regular basis is the fact that giving of yourself in that way is very healing as well. And I can see that in the work that you put out there, the messages that you're putting out, because it's so authentic and real. It's also a way for you to get it out to the audience, but you're also helping yourself. And so by being altruistic, let's say, in that way, you're helping other people, but you're also helping yourself, and it's just a give and take, and it's so awesome to see that happen. And that's the one thing about being on a mental health care journey, is that once you're on that journey and you start to get that self-improvement, it's just something that you want to share with others, because you want them to also have that same experience.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much for being a beacon of hope for others and for being that light that is shining on LinkedIn and telling your story so profoundly, so well, that you do resonate with others. And I'm sure that there are many that decided to go and seek help because of your stories, or have received inspiration due to them. So I thank you so much for that. And I thank you for being here with us today on Level Headed Mind. And again, I'm going to make sure to link into the description all of Sam's feeds, the LinkedIn, YouTube. You can go ahead and check him out there. And definitely, I would say to, get that inspiration from him. That would be wonderful. And is there anything else that you want to tell the audience? Any last thoughts?
Well, just, keep going on this journey, right? Like, I think keep striving every day, every moment, and reach out, find your community, and be your authentic self. I think that's, like you said, that's the theme. And that you can do those things that you wanted to do, like you can do those things, right? Get a vision for what that looks like, understand where you're at, and take small steps to get there. And you'll feel so good at the end of the journey when you do it. If I can help you do it, great. Feel free to reach out. If there's anybody else that you know of, like, reach out. That's the thing. It's just start and try. And I'm so excited to be here with you. Jezel, thanks for this opportunity today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And we'll leave on that note with reach out and get help. Reach out to Sam if you're looking for a good life coach. And thank you for being with us today, this week, for mental health awareness. And we will see you next week.